Mark and Sarah. To anyone looking from the outside, we were the perfect couple. We'd been together for 10 years, married for 5, and had just bought our dream home in the suburbs. We had a beautiful 2-year-old daughter, Lily, who was the light of our lives. I worked hard as a software engineer to provide for my family, often putting in long hours. Sarah had been a marketing manager before Lily was born, but now she was a full-time mom, and she seemed to love it. Our life looked like a picturesque postcard, but as I would soon discover, some pictures lie. It all started subtly, a slight change in her routine. Sarah, who used to call me multiple times during the day just to chat, suddenly went quiet. When I'd ask about her day, her answers became vague. "Oh, just the usual," she'd say. "Ran some errands, took Lily to the park." She started guarding her phone like it was a national treasure, always keeping it face down or in her pocket. When I'd walk into a room, she'd quickly close whatever she was looking at. I tried to dismiss it as stress. Maybe being a stay-at-home mom was more isolating than she let on. I suggested date nights, a weekend getaway, anything to reconnect. She'd always have an excuse. "Lily's not feeling well," or "I'm just too tired, Mark." The distance between us grew into a chasm. The warmth in our bed was replaced by a chilling emptiness. We were living like roommates, co-parenting under the same roof but miles apart emotionally. I started to feel a knot of anxiety tightening in my stomach. Was I not doing enough? Was I a bad husband? I doubled my efforts, bringing home flowers, cooking her favorite meals, offering to take over with Lily so she could have a break. Each gesture was met with a polite but distant smile. It was like throwing a pebble into an ocean and expecting a tidal wave. Nothing. One evening, things took a turn. I came home early from work, hoping to surprise her. As I walked in, I heard her on the phone in the kitchen, her voice low and hushed. She was laughing, a genuine, happy laugh I hadn't heard directed at me in months. The moment she saw me, her face froze. "I have to go," she said abruptly and hung up. "Who was that?" I asked, trying to keep my tone light. "Oh, just an old friend from college," she replied, not meeting my eyes. The lie was so blatant, so poorly delivered, it felt like a slap in the face. That night, I couldn't sleep. The seed of suspicion had been planted, and it was starting to sprout into a monstrous weed of doubt. I hated the person I was becoming. Suspicious, insecure, constantly second-guessing everything. But my gut was screaming at me that something was terribly wrong. The next day, I had to go on a 2-day business trip. I hated leaving, especially with this dark cloud hanging over us. As I packed my bag, Sarah was unusually affectionate, giving me a long hug and a deep kiss. "I'll miss you," she whispered. For a fleeting moment, I felt a surge of hope. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe this was just a rough patch. That hope was shattered less than an hour later. My flight was delayed due to a technical issue. We were all deplaned and told it would be at least a 3-hour wait. My first instinct was to call Sarah, to tell her I'd be home for a bit longer. I called her phone. It rang and rang, then went to voicemail. Strange, she always had her phone on her. I tried again. Voicemail. A cold dread washed over me. On a whim, I decided to check our home security app. We had a camera pointed at the driveway. I opened the app, my heart pounding in my chest, and there it was. A sleek, black sports car I'd never seen before was parked right where my car usually sat. My blood ran cold. I watched the live feed, my hands shaking. A few minutes later, the front door opened. Sarah walked out, followed by a man. He was tall, well-dressed, and had his arm wrapped casually around her waist. She leaned in and gave him a long, passionate kiss. It wasn't the kiss of a friend. It was the kiss of a lover. They stood there for a moment, talking and laughing, before he got into his car and drove away. Sarah waved, a radiant smile on her face, the same smile she used to give me. I felt like I couldn't breathe. The world around me in the busy airport terminal faded into a blur. The sounds of announcements and rolling suitcases became a distant hum. All I could see was that image, burned into my mind. The betrayal was a physical pain, a knife twisting in my gut. I canceled my trip, telling my boss there was a family emergency, which felt like the understatement of the century. The drive home was a blur of anger and heartbreak. 1,000 questions raced through my mind. Who was he? How long had this been going on? What about Lily? What about our life? When I walked through the door, Sarah was in the living room playing with Lily. She looked up, her eyes widening in shock. "Mark, what are you doing here? I thought your flight." Her voice trailed off as she saw the look on my face. I didn't say a word. I just took out my phone and showed her the screenshot from the security camera. The color drained from her face. The mask of the perfect wife and mother crumbled, revealing the stranger underneath. There were no more lies, no more excuses. The truth was out, exposed by a delayed flight and a single missed call. The conversation that followed was the hardest of my life. The tears, the shouted accusations, the painful confessions. It turned out the friend from college was actually her old boss, a man named Alex. Their affair had been going on for 6 months. It started with lunches, which turned into something more. She said she felt lonely, unseen, that I was always working. She said Alex made her feel alive again. Each word was another blow. She wasn't sorry for what she did. She was sorry she got caught. That was the most painful realization of all. The woman I had loved, the woman I had built a life with, was gone. In her place was a stranger I didn't know and couldn't trust. In the end, there was no going back. The trust was shattered beyond repair. We separated, and the process of divorce was messy and painful. The hardest part was, and still is, navigating co-parenting. Seeing Lily only on weekends tears me apart. Some days, the anger and sadness are overwhelming. But I'm slowly rebuilding my life. I'm focusing on my daughter and on myself. The missed call that day didn't just expose an affair, it exposed a truth I needed to see. It was a brutal, heartbreaking wake-up call, but it was also the start of my journey toward healing and finding happiness again, on my own terms. The postcard life was a lie, but my new life, my real life, will be built on a foundation of truth. Thank you for listening to my story. If you've been through something similar, know that you're not alone and that it is possible to heal and move forward. Please consider liking this video and subscribing for more stories. Stay strong.